Welcome to ArcisFX Live.
Hi everyone, sorry, I'm just sorting my microphone out. I just realized I had the wrong settings. Thanks for joining us. I'll just get that sorted. Just check everyone can hear me okay. If there's any problems, please let me know. Right, it is Thursday the 15th. Let's have a look at what's been happening. Well, firstly, let's jump straight into Zcash. Let me just double check my microphone settings. There we go, that's all fine, thank you. If there's any problems, please let me know if you can't hear me. Right, so let's jump straight in with Zcash and have a chat about ZEC. So this is essentially where we are with ZEC. Now, just the context was, of course, we were in the middle of looking for an entrance to front run a breakout of this continuation pattern, this bull flag at the beginning of the year. And just as ZEC was touching our entrance point, which is essentially the breakout level of this ascending triangle. And we had some news during, I think, the session we had a week or so ago. And this is the situation with ZEC. So I'll just read off some what's been going on. So the entire core development team at Electric Coin Company, which is associated with Zcash, resigned en masse over a deep governance dispute, whatever that looks like, with the Bootstrap board forming a new company to continue Zcash's development. Now, the protocol remains operational, but there is obviously significant uncertainty. So there's development uncertainty, core upgrades and maintenance could slow or face delays, network stability risk. While the blockchain continues to run for ZEC, fewer hands on the core protocol code could increase the chances of bugs or vulnerabilities, which adds additional risk. And investor and user confidence, of course, is going to be taking a bit of a hit from this. Also, just the context is, it's quite interesting that we had some bullish news really for ZEC as well, because the SEC was investigating in the United States Zcash from about 2023. And just yesterday, they announced that the Zcash, the foundation, announced that the US Securities and Exchange Commission had closed its multi-year probe without recommending any enforcement action, which is in line with new crypto kind of mentality out of the United States, which is a little bit more relaxed, shall we say. The inquiry, as I said, began in August 2023. So bullish news with some devastating news for the ECC, the Electric Coin Company. But that's the situation with ZEC. But I'm highlighting this because for people who didn't get stopped out with this, and you see here now with ZEC, it looks like it's going to be approaching to retap this area to give us a no loss exit. Unfortunately, though, the depth of this move unfortunately probably meant that quite a lot of people got stopped out because this unfortunately was a bit of a black swan event. But it'd be interesting to see where ZEC goes from here. But my presumption would be, with this level of uncertainty, even though we have flipped the 4-hour 200 MA, we really want to be looking down at this area at around $300 before we decide to accumulate again, because the risk is elevated. Now, of course, if we see ZEC surpass this previous swing high, which we saw at the back end of December, then we can reconsider. But right now, I would suggest that we are looking at ZEC as with tinted glasses. In what I mean by that is that there's obviously, we can't be looking just at the price action or the trading analysis at the moment. We have to know what's going on behind the scenes. And therefore, until we get some bullish news from that, despite the SEC stuff, which is maybe why we're having a bit of a breakout here, we have to bear in mind that until the project offers us some signs of clarity of security, despite being open source, $300 is essentially where we want to be looking. And that's a significant retrace from its peaks. It's about a 60% retrace from its peaks, but nonetheless, ZEC has done really well the last quarter of 2025. But we need to let the dust settle. But I just wanted to update with regard to ZEC. Hi, Emily, Dana, thanks for joining us. Hi, Lola, great to see you too. I'll be taking any questions anyone has about the current state of the market, so feel free to drop them in the comment box. But let's have a look at, also we had some CPI data, so let's just jump in with that. Let me just switch to Bitcoin chart so you can have a look at what, that's bonk, more about that later. So here's Bitcoin 1 hour chart. So the CPI data came in from the United States. Finally, these data points are settling down a little bit following the government shutdown a few months back, which really put data points and data releases and so forth on the back foot. So in terms of the implications for the CPI data, which was pretty flat, it was pretty much the same as it was the month before, just a slightly below expectations, which is good. Inflation's coming down a little bit on the month-on-month, and that is relatively good for crypto because it suggests that subtly the chances of a further rate cut sooner rather than later will happen. But of course, again, like talking about with the Zcash stuff, we have to look at the CPI data and what's coming out of the Fed with an understanding that there's a political situation at the moment with the Justice Department going after the Fed chair, and that of course isn't very helpful. So any bullish kind of news we had on just subtly improved inflation data this week, a lot of cold water has been splashed over that, essentially because there's concerns over, what I'm trying to say is that the Fed's independence is extremely important for just global money. It's extremely important, and any perceived political interference, genuine or legitimate or otherwise, puts that at risk. So when you compare that with, oh yeah, inflation's a little bit, it's all right, it's come down a little bit, with, oh my God, the Trump administration looks like it's coming after the Fed chair, it really they cancel each other out quite significantly. So it's so a lot of things to take into consideration at the moment, and the position we need to take with Bitcoin is similarly one of caution. But let's just have a look at what it's been doing. Bitcoin has been obviously stuck below local resistance 94.5k since November. Essentially, this is November just here, and we've obviously had a very stagnant December, stuck below this range. We broke above these key levels in the group, and on these live streams we identified this area here as the ideal retracement zone, encouraging people to wait till we got to this level because of the confluence we had with these moving averages, and 89k is very significant on high time frames. Had a great bounce. So ArcisFX in the group, we nailed that, right? So thanks for listening to us. And then we had a break above local resistance just yesterday, and we are now trying to find our feet. Now we did have there is a little extra resistance level just around 96.5. And just to clarify, I have a position in Bitcoin flush at 89k. I think I just down there. I need to just check. I think it was 89 to something, and I'm in that position. But now the ideal retracement zone is no longer where I entered, or where some of our group members would have entered. It's now moved up. Now, you would presume that if you're reading a trading textbook, that you would see, oh, we've had a breakout of local resistance. I am now going to enter on the flip side at 94.5k, right? That's my entrance point now. So what was local resistance is now my entrance. But here's the thing. We haven't had that strong a move like I just illustrated. We haven't just popped ahead above the parapet either. We have got above this other resistance area, meaning that this whole space here is a bit of a low liquidity zone. If you scroll back, you'll see that we really transited through it very quickly, which means that Bitcoin has a chance of tapping 101k in the next few days if it wants to. But in terms of a tradable position, we need to think about what's the most likely retrace value for Bitcoin based on this move. So if we look at this single move as just the 100%, right? It's obviously not 100% move, but that's the move we're looking at. And this is essentially, we're looking potentially at a 60% retrace into our new ideal retracement zone, which sits between around 93 and 92.5k. Now, this isn't as good an ideal retracement zone, not as ideal, I suppose, then, because it's obviously quite far below resistance. But the fact that we have broken above both of these resistance areas, strong and relatively minor, means that a retrace of about 50 to 60% will bring us into this area, which is the top of the previous trading range. Now, Bitcoin could very easily come all the way back down to our previous ideal retracement zone of around 89k. It could do that, but in terms of probabilities and in terms of assessing the current move as it is, then I think this is the best area to come in on in terms of probabilities, and again in terms of being manageable for risk management. Now you can see this, we've had a lot of volume, right? So this is pretty good. You know, people are getting involved in this, but am I going to be looking to add to my position here? No, I'm not. The only reason why I would look to, and that doesn't mean it's not going to bounce from here. It very well could do that, but ultimately I need to be in a manageable position. Now, I suppose that is in a manageable position if it comes down, but I think it's just not significant enough retrace for me to enter there. And typically, you know, Bitcoin likes to break above key levels and then lose them again, and then have another go once the sellers have taken control. So I think if you're looking to enter Bitcoin, your eyes should be around on 93 to 92.5K right now. And of course, if Bitcoin ascends higher from here, or it does come back and retest this level and bounces, then of course we'll reconsider. Because if it did have a nice retest on its way up, but that's just on a lower time frame essentially. And what we want to see is if we do see a bounce from here and then another higher high, then 94.5K will become the area which I'll look to add potentially, right? But right now, because we haven't seen that, I'm going to presume this isn't going to hold and we're coming back down here. So everything's conditional, everything's contextual, but that's the recommendation at the moment for Bitcoin. Now, also, even though this is just a 1 hour chart, we've got 101K overhead. This is the next major resistance level, but it is the most significant resistance level, arguably, for Bitcoin to deal with because of this chart. Hey MD, hang on. Hey MD, great to see you. Thanks for being here. It's never a live stream, a good live stream without you. So thanks for joining. Yeah, we'll have a look at Ethereum and XMR for sure. Monero, yeah, I have a chart for that ready. And Dana, can you please talk about BNB? Yeah, BNB was an altcoin pick gem last last week, so we'll have a look at that. Yeah, and we'll get to that shortly. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Keep the questions coming. I will get to them shortly. So this is Bitcoin 8 hour chart, which is zooming out a little bit. Weekly 50 MA, 4 hour 200 MA. This is the triangle pattern we've just broken out of. And I think if you look at it like this, right, who is going to be coming in at 94.5K based on this tiny little move, right? No one, right? No one. Because, you know, you can see all of this air below. You can see a retrace all the way down to 91, right? That would legitimately make sense with this moving average down here, right? So that's a possibility. So when you look at my ideal retracement zone being between 93 and 92.5, that's actually quite, you know, that's a little bit liberal, really, in that respect, because, you know, if you look at the higher time frames, it makes sense to come down even deeper. So that puts into context the importance of potentially not, I'm going to stop flashing that chart up and that one, the potential reason why not to come in for a position just on the SR flip of this level just yet. And, you know, we could have a retest, we could have a move back down here, but I think this is more logical if the market remains bullish. But you can see how it's not really, it's only just essentially trying to catch a wick back into this pattern, even though we could have a deeper retrace. So when you look at these, multi-time frame analysis is super important, and it can help you assess, well, okay, so on the shorter time frames, it makes sense to just come in on the SR flip. But when I look at it like this, that's not a very strong move out of the ascending triangle, and therefore, when we know that typically, you know, I mean, look at all this kind of volatility and price action. This is Bitcoin, this is a crypto, right? We have volatility here. So it's very likely we could have a deeper retrace back to where we launched off from. Therefore, you know, the ideal retracement zone I'm suggesting is maybe a little bit too bullish, perhaps. So that should just give you pause in terms of where you should be taking your positioning. But 101K is flush the next major resistance level with the 50 MA, and this is why it's very significant. And we've talked about this. Excuse me. Oh God, I hate that tool. We've seen this before. The bull run kicked off essentially with a break above the 50, and it's been respected for over 2 years now, and we've lost it. Right, that's a key bearish signal, right? And if you want to know if Bitcoin is going to break all new highs over the next few months, then you need to pay attention to how the price interacts with 101K, or more specifically the weekly 50 MA. Let me just take a sip of coffee. And this is why we have to look at this move here not as like Bitcoin's going to the moon. No, we have to look at it as like, right, this is an opportunity for the bulls to change the bearish narrative, right? But until I see it break above the weekly 50 MA, and until I see it maybe get into this upper range above 116K, I'm going to remain bearish on Bitcoin in the medium term for sure. And this is the way you need to approach it, because it's just TA. TA is informing that for me, right? But if we see so I will be taking profits from my lower position here for certain, and I'll probably be taking it all, right? Completely clearing out my position. And again, if we see a further move up from here, right, and we do break above it, and then we get into this upper range, which means all new highs are in play, then I'll be thinking about repositioning and coming back in on the flip side of the 50 MA, right? And that's fine. But I'm not entering a position here hoping that I'm going to sell it at 200K. No, I'm presuming we're going to come down, and this is the last gasp of the bull market. And I'm just taking that trade. And this is the most important thing to realize at the moment, right? All of the media in the space. All of the media in the space, every time Bitcoin, even with traditional, like most of the group members in our amazing private group, James is a wonderful private group that are traditional stocks and commodities traders, right? They dabble with Bitcoin, no doubt. But so when they see Bitcoin making a move, it's a big move for them, right? But for me, it's nothing. It's a nothing burger. It means nothing. And all of the media goes, Bitcoin's recovering, and I'm like, no, January bump, coming up to retest the previous range before heading lower. That's it, right? Until we see something different. And it frustrates me, and I really want to sometimes go and knock on the door of some of these news agencies and say, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking about Bitcoin's being so bullish when the big picture doesn't say that? And this is how we need to approach trading. And it's not just about the story with Bitcoin. It's about the story with all assets we trade, right? It's very easy to say, oh, I've got a good position, right? This is going to go up. This is going to go up. And you lose sight of where you're supposed to take profits. You lose sight of what the actual move is. So this is a good example. Like, I got in here on the retest of the 4-hour 200 MA and other moving averages, which are on this chart, right? Once I had bullish confirmation and we broke above the trading range we were in December, there it is, right? And then I saw the break above, I looked to enter on the retest, and I've assessed Bitcoin. What is the most probable move to make money, right? It is coming in here and it is taking profits here. Now, I might not get that TP, right? It may roll over from here and I'll have to exit, but ultimately that's the play. And it's a reasonable assumption that that's going to happen. I'm not looking for profits up here. I'm looking to simply trade Bitcoin within the range, which is a highly probable, which is a 11%, right? Straightforward. I've got a bit of leverage on it, right? So that's the idea. And we have to approach all assets with this mentality. What's the trade, right? Not I'm going to buy it because it's going to go up, right? That's too broad, right? It needs to be, what is my premise? What's the premise for the trade, right? I'm going to wait for bullish confirmation, following a break out of the current trading range, and I'm going to figure out where the most probable amount of sellers are and where we'll most likely get a rejection, and then I'm going to take profits. And that's it, and I'm going to stick to it. And if Bitcoin continues up beyond the 50 MA on the weekly chart up to here, I'm not crying about it. I'll reevaluate, look for a new entrance, right? And that's the whole game. And part of the problem, part of the problem with trading, especially volatile markets, where you're seeing tremendous, I'm having a really bad hair day, I'm sorry, tremendous gains from things, it's easy to just put your blinkers on, right? And forget about it and be like, oh, well, we're at support and we're going to go up because it always goes up. It's like, that's not enough planning. That's not enough thought process which goes into it. I started becoming successful as a trader when I started to have clear narratives for a setup for a trade, right? I'll figure out where's the best TP. Is this manageable? What's the range, right? And I'll stick to it. Even if I start getting signals from the market that maybe my whatever altcoin I'm trading might hit my TP2, I'm like, nah, I'm sticking to my plan because my plan's good, right? And it takes a lot for me to alter my plan, but you also got to include in your plan the potential for alterations. And if you haven't planned for the alterations, you don't do that. So what I mean by that is, if, for example, you're trading ZEC, right, and you're buying support, right, and you come up with a nice play, you understand the context of the asset, that it's probably got a lot of ambiguity at the moment, and you just need to be a quick in and out sort of trade. But you can say to yourself, okay, if I enter and get a good position at lower support with ZEC, and then we get some bullish news from the team, then I maybe will raise my TP to TP2 as opposed to TP1. And that makes sense. But I have to have planned for it beforehand. And if I haven't planned for it beforehand, I'm not going to do it, because half the time I'm waking up in the middle of the night to adjust and reposition a trade. I'm not thinking properly. And all I have is a Post-it note on my desk saying, oh, this is your get out point. This is the thing. And I have to follow it. Otherwise, I'm just undoing hours or days worth of planning in moments simply because I'm like, FOMO, which we have to avoid. And this is what gets people burned. A lot of people say, I'm not a good trader, or I've lost my edge, or I've lost my mojo. And really, the biggest problem is you've lost your ability to plan properly, right? And it's kind of like, when it's your birthday and some lovely soul has bought you a birthday cake, right? You can either grab the whole cake and just start putting it in your face and eating it, or you can get a knife and slice it up, what you think you can eat, what you think is enough to consume, what you think is healthy, and then you eat that on a plate, right? And in crypto, a lot of people would just put their face into the cake and just try and gnaw on it, hoping that they get, it's a stupid metaphor, but the idea is that you have to be surgical, right? You have to be surgical. And if you can be surgical, you get to lock in profits quicker, which means you win quicker, right? And how many people in crypto and in volatile asset classes have got a good position and then tripped over themselves when it comes to locking in profits at the hope of more, right? And this is the game, right? I have a very strict policy of like 30% trades, right? I aim for 30%, right? And I afford my planning to give me, as I said with Zcash, if this happens, then I maybe move it up to TP2. But you just lock in your wins. There's nothing more painful aside from a loss than getting a good position, seeing your TP hit, and then you prat around with it and it resets and you get stopped out or you lose it or whatever, right? There's nothing more frustrating than that. So discipline is the key for sure. Let's have a look what else we got. Okay, so right, we had talked about Ethereum and Monero. Let's have a look. Right, I think this might be it. No, that's XRP. Where's the other X? Here it is. No, that's XRP again. Is there another X, or do I need to load it up? I do have a chart. Is it this one? No, here we go. All right, let's load it up. All right, let's find it. Super organized as always. XMR. Should have a recent chart. There you go, January the 9th. Ooh, okay. That's news. Whoa, okay. I haven't checked this in a day or so. Okay, cool. So doing well then is the answer to that question. Let's have a look. What do you think about? Okay, let's just jump in. Let's figure this out. Okay, so we were looking for an entrance around here. You can see this, a modest play for sure, and we didn't get that entrance. I think, I'll be honest, I don't think we posted this setup until it was up here in a breakout, and we just didn't get the retest I wanted. Now, of course, at the time that the market was quite hesitant, and therefore we're being very cautious. But this has obviously got away from us, and so no, I haven't entered this trade. And no one should have entered it really, because we didn't get the entrance now we wanted. But I mean, look, this is a perfectly acceptable retrace of a level we've broken out of. But for me, it just, you can understand if you look at this diagonal line here, that this is where the bounce points were previously, and this is what we were waiting for very simply. We just didn't get it, so we've missed this move. But yeah, so that's popped for sure, which is really nice. So let's have a look. How do we play this now? How do we play this? So let's get rid of this. Okay, so let's just big picture. This is where we launched off from. This is April 2024. We last broke out earlier in 2025. Really struggled. This is August. So we've been in an uptrend really throughout all of Bitcoin's turmoil, which is showing a bullish nature, which is why it got my attention. We didn't quite get that entrance, and now we're away. So we're going to have to crank out the fib levels. But what's the move? Do we do it from here, or do we do it from here? I'm going to do it from here. Let's have a look. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let's have a quick look. I'm going to do it from, yeah, the retest and the breakout. Let's just do that. See if we can get some alignment with a bit grumpy today, so I usually fall out with fib levels. Let's just get that sorted, get rid of some of these, make it a bit clearer, see if we can find something. Okay, so is it lining up? Not really, not being very helpful today. 0 to 1, golden zone. Let's put the 5 on. Oh, here we go. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm getting confused. Here we go. There's the launching off point. We got multiple fibs on here. That's why. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Let's find the golden zone. Look where the golden zone is. Right. Let's have a look. Now, where are we in the big picture? This is the first thing. Let's switch to the weekly. So this is price discovery, right? So that's a very bullish thing to be in. Let's back to the daily chart. Okay, let's have a look. So yeah, this is a little bit difficult when you're in price discovery. I'm going to be honest with you, and it's probably going to be a waiting game. Let's do that. That looks a bit better. I'm a bit more comfortable with that. Okay, let's do that. Let's just see what it's like there. No, I'm happy with that. So yeah, okay. So we're in negative price discovery. Excuse me, positive price discovery. Now, what we're looking for is we have to ask the question where the buyer is going to be, right? Where are the buyers going to come in? Now, with this being not historical, this golden zone not being historical anything, because we're in positive price discovery, you have to ask yourself where we're going from here, which is a very difficult tradable thing. So you've got the golden zone, which is 0.5 to 618, but let's just put the 786 on. Now the 786 is essentially the only level which we've got existing structure outside of maths for, right? So you could say on the face of this move, and good volume, right? You could say on the face of this move that you're looking for a deep retrace, right? Back down to here. So the first line in the sand is going to be essentially around $500, right? Looking to come in at $500, which is a good psychological level, right? Now, if it breaks higher from here, we can reevaluate, but I'll be interested. What we need to do first is we need to assess what the price action is going to do. Now, if it essentially just resets like this, which some of these assets will do, I don't think XMR necessarily is going to do that. Then we've got our answer, and then we've got a good area to come in on. But if it starts to do, if it does this and kind of sits around here, then we can potentially reevaluate. But so we're going to need to see more price action. But currently, right now, the only level I could suggest looking to come in for is 500, because that's the most obvious and manageable play. In order to see the significance of any of these other retrace values, we need to see a little bit more price action to see how sturdy it is and see what the selling activity is. Difficulty of trading assets in positive price discovery, but typically, you know, this is a very, very, very bullish move. This is looking really good, and it's going to capture people's attention as well. So they'll be looking to get in on it. So I think it's reasonable to say $500, but if we do see it's holding its own, forming a bull flag of sorts, then we'll have to reevaluate. But the reality is that XMR's had its move now. We didn't quite get our entrance. I think this was just a private group setup. I'm not sure I did it in Altcoin Gems. And we just have to wait. It's a waiting game, right? But we want the next setup, which hasn't popped yet. Right? There's no sense in chasing this, and retail will be chasing this, and we don't want any part of it, which is why you're probably thinking, well, hang, that's really low down, 500. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's the only manageable play, right? It's the only manageable play until we've seen some more. So that's XMR. Hope that helps. Let's have a look. Interesting. So yeah, privacy token. It surged during Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and now it's pumping in. I'm going to look into that because that's quite interesting. Thanks for sharing that. That's quite interesting correlation. I'll jump into that. But it doesn't really change how we trade it. But it's obviously been very bullish. And the reason why this has got my attention, of course, because despite Bitcoin having a really bad quarter in December, XMR was doing okay, but again, missed that one. And what's this? Okay. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Let's have a look. Just give me a moment. Let us all hear from James just for a moment. I'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm James. I'm the founder of ArcisFX. I'd like to personally invite you to join our 24/7 trading group. This is built for traders who want an edge. Inside, you'll get access to live calls on Forex, commodities, crypto, energies, and metals, along with exclusive daily analysis designed to unlock your trading potential. And this in both traditional and now in digital markets. I'm talking Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, and tethered currencies. You'll gain early access to insider news, real-time updates, real-time support, and premium educational content. If you want to sharpen your skills and boost your success rate, then join me and Paul in this community. This is a fast-growing community of traders who are now writing their own success stories. So don't wait. Join up now. Your edge starts right here.
Thank you, James. Awesome stuff. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so this is not my bag, typically, Oracle, but I'm happy to help. James is obviously the best man to discuss this. That's his area of expertise, but we can have a look at the TA and see what's happening. Obviously, I don't have any insight into the company at present. So this is Oracle for people just touching base. I hope I've got the right chart up. So as I would always do, I'm just going to map out key levels, just get a sense of where we are. I'll do it really quickly. All right, this is just going to be based on TA. I can't give you any insider insights like James can with these non-crypto stuff, but let's have a look. Nice, interesting price action, actually. Pretty smooth. Here we go. Level there. So what's the big picture here? Let's just zoom out even further. Okay. That's that. Top that off. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look. This is the move we're looking at. And just on first glance, let's switch back off the weekly. Let's switch to the 3-day. Right, so on first glance, this is the move. Right, so let's just go with some fibs again. Seems like that's the order of the day. Let's call it from that. I think let's do it from there. Maybe here we go. Yeah, I like that. That lines up with the levels a little bit better. Just get rid of that. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. And get rid of that. Just wasted my time there. Okay, so we've gone through the golden zone. We're approaching the 786, so a reversal will be likely. Looks like we've got a potential bear flag as well, which suggests that maybe we've got a little bit more markdown to come. Now this is obviously a key level. So looking at around 194, 195, clearly that's going to be pretty strong support at the moment, right? I don't have the broader context for this asset, right? But it's had a very strong move. We've been in an uptrend since, 2022. And this is a very steep retrace for sure looking at this. So, but when we've got a flag pattern, it's easy to kind of trade. So really straightforward. I don't want to spend too long on this because I really prefer James to get into this a little bit more, but we've got this bear flag. Okay, so if you see a break lower from here, you know the 786 is coming fast, all right? And then that'll be the next reversal point, right? And I think that's around 160, right? 160 would make sense just based on this very quick analysis. I haven't put moving averages on there as well. Now, that would be a pretty decent retrace from this move. That would likely people looking for a reversal. Now, because we've got this, we're straddling this range, it's very, this zone around 195, it's very difficult to see how the price action is going to react. So it's come down essentially to retap this level, right? So we could see a reversal from here, but you'll want to see essentially a move out of this to find its feet. And then if you see a reversal pattern, there's your entrance at around 195. But based on what I'm looking at right now, I think we're probably going to be coming down to 160 just based on the TA. I'll just put some moving averages on very quickly. These are not the ones designed for stocks. And you can see you've got on the 3-day, you've got the 200 MA coming in as well. Nice confluence at that level. And it's being oppressed at the moment by some of these moving averages. And we just switch to the daily just to see what else is going on. Yeah, and then you've got the daily 200 MA oppressing the price action. Shame on you, 200 MA. So I think based on just an initial glance, 160 is the level to be paying attention to right now. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Oh, James is here. James, what do you think? What do you think about Oracle? You got any thoughts? Are you actually flying the drone? Are you flying the drone when you're doing this? So your TP is 220. Are you talking about Oracle, MD? I'm long on Oracle. My TP is 220. Let's have a look. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the place to take profit. But where are you long from? That's the question. But yeah, but look, this isn't my bag. No, we're not telling you to buzz off. We want you to tell us what you think of Oracle. So yeah, okay. Where did you get in, MD? Where did you get in on Oracle? Where did you get in? But yeah, that's my initial analysis, Barbara. I hope that helps. So I think let's just follow these comments. I think Oracle is buy at 177. Yeah, there is huge support at 177, right? Yeah, there is, right, which is where we've had a bounce point from. But if I'm just looking at this at a glance from basic TA, not quite seeing it yet, right? I'm seeing it moving down, right? Now let's see what happens, right? But ultimately, let's just move in a little bit to see the lower price action. Excuse me. Let's go to the 4 hour. Didn't think I'd be looking at Oracle today. I mean, yeah, it's a bear flag. It's a bear flag. For sure. And what that means is essentially, even if we come up here, right? I mean, look, maybe there's a pocket there to find its feet, but I'm not seeing anything which would make me enter a position here, right? Because this is significant support, correct? But the way it's interacting with it right now is not filling me with confidence, just based on TA, right? So I'm for me, just based on initial, I'm saying 160. But let's ask James that question, because he's much more in tune with this sort of thing. And let's just move to the 3-day and kind of show you. There you go. That's kind of the line in the sand. We've had a bounce from there. Yeah. So that's my take. I'm thinking 160 is probably where we're going. I hope I'm wrong for that position. Yeah, like BTC for sure. Okay, so listen to James, presuming he's talking about current levels. Yeah, listen to James, probably more over me, but just a bit of caution there, right? Just do a quick multi-time frame analysis, making it a little bit questionable. And again, we don't want to be entering questionable trades, but I'm not familiar with the movement of these sort of assets. So so thank you so much, James. Let's have a look. Earnings season, I'll be quick enough. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. You can make that play. It's just yeah, that's just based on TA. But if I wouldn't enter here. But I mean, let's just move this, get rid of this flag. Yeah, I'll defer to James on this one. I'll defer to James, but I'm not seeing it. But there's more at play, obviously, with these assets in the stock market. So yeah, thanks for that. No, it's fine. Again, I think James is the better man to ask. He'll be able to give you a bit more context for these assets, because TA alone, as we kind of talked about today, the theme of today was, like you say, TA alone is not necessarily what we need with a lot of these stocks and everything. So so yeah, keep that. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'll do a bit more research into that as well. I'm quite interested with that. But let's have a quick look at some of the big XMR, crazy good stuff. Okay, so this is Sol. We'll talk about this tomorrow in Altcoin Gems. Potential cup with no handle. Now, we can treat this as a potential. This is obviously clearly defined resistance, and it has been since November. So just that by itself and this curve, right, suggests that if you look at this pathway, watch for a break. Ideally, I want to see a break above 164, a higher high, to really make me want to come in at around 145 on the flip. So that'll be like that. Right, that's the idea. So coming in here, right? And again, these are just, I'm trying to give you, like, this is the ideal situation, right? We have to adapt. And the truth of it is sometimes you see these breakouts and you get the bounce above support like that, right? And this is why scaling can help you a little bit. So this is just, the textbook ideal scenario, and you have to adapt based on what you've seen. Now, if we don't get a strong break and we maybe get a break above just like that, we run straight into this resistance area here, then I'm not going to enter there, and we may enter this bear flag, the handle. No, excuse me, what am I talking about? I'm getting the handle of the cup and handle, bull flag of sorts, right? And then we ride it up from here. And I would be happy to front run this play. I would be happy to come in here at around 132, because it's pretty manageable. It's at the bottom of a range, which is great for a long play. We've had a nice reversal from the price action, and if it's just a handle, then it's a cup and handle, and then we can come in and front run it, no problem, right? And also, because if the market's uncertain, front running can be good risk management strategy as well. because essentially if you do come in here and the price actually heads lower, again, you get all that bearish retest on the back of this bullish move, this bullish curve. So yeah, so this is what as I said, we want to see essentially a breakout which is past this 164, 165. Then we look to come in on the flip side. Bearing in mind this is a high cap, so it's not going to have the volatility necessarily of some of the lower mid cap coins, or if we do, which seems to be playing out at the moment, starts to come back down into this pattern, you could look for an entrance here, you could look for an entrance here, and just pick up at 133. But I wouldn't be coming in anywhere in the middle, right? And then you've got that place. So that's Solana, and also so look, here you go. So you notice in the RSI, I put these lines to confirm the trading range which we're in, and the benefit of doing that is if we see the RSI break lower out of the range it's been trading in, that is a signal that we're potentially coming down. Therefore, this play, the one where essentially we're coming in at 133 on the formation of the handle. I mean, someone's got to help form the handle, people. So come on, you got to do some work. This is probably the most logical play for Sol, but that's lining up quite nicely now. Yeah. Where's one for? This is why we've got this level here, which is why this is what I want to see. You have to ask yourself, what do I want to see from Sol to make me come in on the flip side, right? Because if that makes me want to come in on the flip side, it's going to make other buyers come in on the flip side. So I don't want Sol to be just like, hi mom, and then bugger off, right? Excuse my language. I don't want to see that. I want to see something really bullish. And given that the measured move, I don't know why I just did that, the measured move of this pattern is up here, it's not unreasonable, right, to ask that of it. But again, it's like we need to be in manageable positions and have a clear premise for the trade. But I think we probably come into this one now as well, coming down to this lower entry at 133, more manageable, especially if the market turns bearish, if it's not already. So yeah, that's cool. Ether, I prefer the crypto related stocks and associated energy, and AI plays better. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, absolutely. So much to learn about these markets. Thank God James was here. Gives us that extra insight, that experience. Right. And thanks for being here, James, as well. It's great to have you. I know you're a very busy man. Right, Ethereum. Let's have a look at Ethereum. So many charts. Oh yeah, okay. So Ethereum is pretty straightforward. I got a pretty straightforward chat to you about this. This is fine. So we got daily on the left, we got the 6 hour on the right, ascending triangle, clearly defined, double bottom. This was the trading range we broke out of. We got stuck in, and we had a nice bounce off this little pocket. Now, for me, key support and the best entrance for Ethereum remains 2842. Okay, I just want to make that clear. That's the best entrance for a hodl buy of Ethereum right now. Now, in terms of short-term plays, you can see there's lots of options to choose from, right? You could come in the bottom of this triangle pattern at around 388, which is essentially essentially just a retest of this area here. It's a little bit challenging potentially, but you've got the 6 hour 200 MA coming in. So you could potentially look to come in around 380, maintain this pattern integrity, which is essentially the launching off point for here. So you could do that, front run a break, right? That's fine, right? But until so there is short-term trading opportunities here, but I'm not going to move up this key support as the best place to buy Ethereum right now until we break higher. So what I would want to see is Ethereum break above up to here, which is resistance at 380. And then if I see that, for me, this level will become the best area to come in on, which is around 390, 388, which is that entrance we were just talking about, right? Because we've now broken above this range. Key support there is probably a little bit out of reach, right? I'm not sure the sellers are going to be able to push it back down there unless there's a black swan event, but I can see a breakdown of this pattern, right, happening until we see the breakout. I can see this happening, right? I mean, you can see that happening, right? And that's why key support remains 2842. But if we get a move up here, then this area, this level, 3088, 373.80 will become the best place to come in for a long. As you can see, that seems like a reasonable move and a reasonable retrace. And this is how we need to approach it, right? There's so many crypto assets, right? And if you're looking to enter them, you've got to think, right, where I want to enter with other buyers. I want to enter in a manageable position, and therefore no one should be entering here, right? at all. We could potentially enter here for a little quick in and out sort of thing. We could do that. That's around 388. We can do that, but you risk kind of the bearish downside. But ultimately, this is what you need to do. Wait for key support at 2842, right? If you are a little bit how do you say it, like front running plays, then you could look to come in on the 6-hour chart and on this bottom diagonal line of the triangle, right, between around 380 and 3100. That's okay. I can see that happening. That's fine. It's manageable, because if you get a break down, you're running straight into support, and there'll probably be a lot of price action movement around this area. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But if you're thinking of loading up your bag essentially with Ethereum for a longer move, just wait for these dips, right? These volatile assets, wait for the dips, right? And currently, we just need to wait to see a move higher. And if we do see a move higher, then key support essentially becomes a little bit higher at around 380. That's the way I'll play it. I hope that makes sense. Probably a little bit of a frustrating assessment, but that's the way you're going to do it. Coin is also a good play. Link is also good, but I think it's late to buy. Let's have a look at Link. Have I got Chainlink open? I don't think I have got Chainlink open. Let's have a look. Open layout. Let's find Link. It's never too far from the surface. Yep. My coffee's going cold. Somebody please gift me what? Yeah, okay. Let's get my head around Link for a minute. It's been a minute since I've touched base with it. Let's get rid of that. Don't want any bias. Get rid of that. This is the 4-hour chart, people. Just so you know, there it is. There's the title. Right. So, it's a bit of a mess. I'm going to be honest with you. So, some trades are no-brainers, right? Not that they're guaranteed to move, but there's a lot of ambiguity about these levels. So here's support, right? So I think your assessment was correct, MD. Here is support. Now look at this. Like, it's just not. There's so much ambiguity, which means there's a level here. There's a level here. That's difficult to trade. And now we have a golden cross, but the 200 MA, is above these support areas. So if the market turns, we're just coming back down, right? And we're resetting. So I'm not wanting. You can obviously say you come in on the 200 MA, fine, right? You can come in on that. That's fine. It's a significant level, at least on the beginning on the 4-hour. But I'm not seeing it. It's a bit of a mess. We haven't surpassed this previous high. All these levels are all over the place. And if we just zoom out, just switch to the daily chart. There's a reason why I haven't looked at it, I don't think. Okay, so this is where we are now. I'm looking at that, and this is good, but we're just messing around, really. And this is on here. Here's the range we're in, right? This is the trading range, right? And it's between. Let me just put a nice box on there for people. Bum 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 ba dum. I got Katy Perry's Raw in my head. I'm so disgusted. I got no problem with Katy Perry, but I just can't get Raw out of my head, and it's doing my head in. I don't know why I don't listen to Katy Perry when she's talking or singing. I'm sorry, that was really mean. Right, so here is the trading range. But good on Justin Trudeau. Right, so yes, we're kind of in the middle. We're messing around in the middle, right? Here's your bounce point. Here's your sell point. This is where I want to be, at the bottom of the range, right? You could argue you could come in the middle of the range, right? So you could argue that there's a premise to come in around 12.5. Okay, I mean there is a premise. This bounce from here, so the 12.5, that makes sense potentially, especially if the market's going up. We look at Bitcoin heading towards resistance, which could be major resistance on higher time frames, could pull the market down. I mean, you've got the 50 to come in on, but so I would say that if you're looking for a play with Link, there is no obvious play right now. Let's just clean this up, right? There's no no-brainer play right now. But what I would say is that there are a lot of potential for moving upwards. It's been respecting these dips for sure. Come in as flush as you can, with maybe start to scale in on the 200 MA. Try and scoop up a wick to 12.5. At least it's then manageable. So that would be, come in a little bit here, come in a little bit here. I'm presumably going to scoop it up like this, something like that. And then if it does head down, you're probably going to get that retest of the 200 MA and this area. So you'll probably be okay, but probably be okay is not really the sort of setup we want to be trading. Right. So I would say that unless Link breaks above $15, you want to be looking for a buy at around 10 to 11, around 11, maybe around $11. Or if the price can just keep ranging around here and it pushes the 200 MA down a little bit more flush with 12.5, then there's a play there too. But I think there's better setups at the moment with Link. I hope that answers your question. What coins? I'm in a lot. What am I in? Dot, render, VR, num, Bitcoin, and there's 3 more. Some of these are longer term positions, right? So I'm not trading that many like short term plays, right? Just to be clarified. Let's have a look. And there's another one, a random one, a stupid one. I can't remember what it was called. I'll have to check. Let's have a look. I'm just too many comments. Both of me are the same age. Who are we talking about? Paul looks a lot older than me. That's fine. I'm happy to accept that. That's fine. There was a time which I looked younger, but I don't. I think we look pretty relatively close in age, James, to give you credit. Right. Anyway, right. What we're doing, right? So that's Link. Yeah. Again, and this is the whole thing, right? For people paying attention to this, right? We can find a trade with Link, but if we're searching, it's like we want other people to be drawn to it like a magnet. It's like, well, that's a no-brainer, right? We've got a golden cross. We're at long-term support. We've got a breakout of an ascending triangle just below long-term support. We've got moving average confluence. We've got divergence. That's what I want. Link is like you're having to cock your head left and right to try and see what the best play is, and therefore don't trade it, right? We want everything to line up perfectly, right, to try and get your play. And the advantage of trading crypto is you have a pick of the bag, right? Which is why I dabble with loads of different plays and setups. So all of the setups I tend to post with altcoin gems, I tend to trade, but the reality is that not all of them obviously play out, and it's just an exercise in risk management. But that's the whole thing. That's the whole game. You need to be able to enter these positions, these trades, these setups, and then when they go bad, have an exit them. And altcoin gems, we're not just giving you setups which have tons of profit potential. We're offering you setups and providing setups which have good consideration and are in good positions in terms of risk, right? And that's the thing a lot of people don't seem to realize, because I've posted setups before and people have said, well, this one's better because it could go up. And I'm like, right, but it's not in the best position to offset risk. And that is the only thing we have to consider when trading crypto. We want profit potential. We want a clear premise, but unlike Link, right? And we don't want to be entering assets just based on profit potential. Well, we want to be entering assets based on our ability to manage them if things go wrong, because they do. They go up and down and up and down. Crypto and volatile assets are all over the place. And Bitcoin's been pretty sedate in terms of its textbook kind of movements of recent, but that's not typical at all, right? And obviously altcoins will reflect that, but that's the deal. Let's have a look. What else we got? Let's talk about, I'm going to end in a moment. Let's talk about Bonk. Let's talk about Bonk. Bonk is going to be an altcoin gem tomorrow. So look at this chart. There is a clearly defined premise, right? Just looking at it, it is so obvious, right? You have, the 50 on the daily, you have the 200 on the daily, and this is the range, essentially. This is what we're looking to trade, right? We lost it on the October crash. We're now trying to form a base. We've confirmed the trend change with a break above the 50. Now we're just looking for our entrance, right? That is so much more clear. I don't have to cock my head like I do with Link. So therefore, Bonk is going to be an altcoin gem tomorrow and not Link, as an example. So what are we looking for with Bonk? We are, see if you can hold yourself back in the comments, people. We're looking for essentially a flush entrance at around 0. I can't do that, 7 zeros. I think 952 flush with the 50. simple play. Come in flush with the 50 on the back of this double bottom. You've got support just below. You've got a clearly definable target with the 200 MA overhead, meaning people will start to take profits in this area, which is why my TP is just below. That's the premise. It's straightforward, really simple. And because it's the daily chart, right, these are strong as rocks, kind of support and resistance level, compared to trying to hash out a trade on the 2-hour chart, right? So we could do a bit of multi-time frame analysis, but really straightforward. The daily chart is where the mustard is, and this is it. So the bonk is a really good setup, and you can see that the difference between some of the setups we've been looking at today. This is just an obvious play. It doesn't guarantee it's going to work out, right? But we've got a premise, right? We've got a nice strong breakout on the back of a double bottom, which has been confirmed. We have moving average confluence at the bottom of the support range, giving us play. So we could start to scale in maybe from current levels, and then just if we get a tap. So anywhere between 1024 and around 960 is a good play. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. But yeah, bonk, there you go, really straightforward. And this is the advantage of it's like, I don't know, I'm not in the commodities space, right? I'm learning a lot from James, but I mean, is there a silver 2 or a silver 3 or a cotton 2 or a cotton 3? It's like, we have these assets, and James's insight into trading them is so insightful, but it's a different game with crypto, because in crypto, you've got thousands of tokens to choose from to trade off, right? So, and and you can use that as an advantage to offset the risk of volatility, because you get to cherry pick, right? And that is the advantage which you need to utilize in the crypto space, because again, we've talked about, it's all about risk management, it's all about volatility, and what you choose to trade is part of that, right? And that's why when people get, oh, I only trade ADA, or I only trade Pepe. I mean, good luck with that if you only trade Pepe. But if we've got a Pepe setup as well. It's like you're limiting your potential to manage risk. You're limiting your profit potential, because you're just going to because ultimately, when you're trading a singular asset, you're right. And there is an argument to say, like, because I'm pretty in tune with Bitcoin at the moment, because I look at it every day, I analyze it every day, and it's one of the reasons why over the last few months, me and James have been able to nail a lot of the reversal points for Bitcoin, because we're in tune with it, we're in sync with it, because we spend so much time on the charts, right? So there is an advantage to kind of tunnel vision on one chart, because you get to know an asset, you get to know its volatility, how it works. But ultimately, the risks are too great, because say you're stuck trading ADA, right? And you're constantly searching for the next trade, where in reality, once ADA, as we talked about with XMR today, once it's made its move, it's a waiting game. And you don't want to typically wait. You want to go for your next trade. And therefore, you will force a trade with ADA after a move. And maybe you'll come in at like the 0.5 instead of the 618 on a retrace, because you're eager to have a trade. And it just messes with your mind. You need to be like, right, I've just traded ADA, I've made some money, I've got my money, right, what's next? Move on, right? Because the risk to your mentality, your risk in terms of making a mistake increases when you just focus on one asset. Now, Bitcoin is different because, of course, it's a leading asset for the market. But the reason why Altcoin Gems exists is because it's about, right, what's the best setup this week? Bonk existed 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Why didn't I include it in Altcoin Gems then? Because we now have a premise, and it's now lining up. The stars are aligning for us. So I'm going to get my telescope out and have a look, right? That's the game. Whereas an ADA or some of the other things we've looked at today, like XMR, maybe we'll have XMR in 2 or 3 weeks once it's retraced, giving us some more information, and we have a bullish premise again. But if you're just trying to trade XMR every day, like, you're going to drive yourself insane, and your win rate is going to be impacted, right? So and this is why I have so much respect for people like James, because these are the markets I'm trading, and he nails it week after week, because he's just and it's amazing to watch, right? But it requires a tremendous amount of discipline, which he exhibits. For me, my discipline, of course, comes from a slightly different place. It's about not repeating the same mistakes. It's about having a fresh perspective on every trade. And when you're shifting to different assets, that promotes that thinking, which is really good. It doesn't mean that all of the new setups are going to trade. You can still have 3 bad trades in a row trading 3 assets. Trust me, I've been there, right? But this is it. Use crypto to your advantage. There's thousands and thousands. Cherry pick. That's the best play ultimately. But yeah, so that's bonk. Anything else? Any other questions before I finish? Let's just see if there's anything. We talked about ZEC. Yeah, that's fine. We can end here. I'll just leave you with this. So just keep your perspective on Bitcoin. And when you are making these trades, make sure, of course, you have a clear, definable premise. If this is the thing you take from this stream today, is have a clear, definable premise. Where's your TP? Where's your stop loss? Is your stop loss too tight? Is it going to allow for that volatility to give you some maneuverability, or are you just going to get stopped out? Have all of these things thought about, right? And it's all about taking advantage of the volatility and using it, right? And also, and part of that is reminding yourself that, you want to surf this wave, right? And then get out the water, right? Surf the wave, get out the water. Go back in, surf another one, right? You imagine trying to go into the water, surf one wave, and then immediately try and jump off another one. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And I'm not a surfer. I'm sure James will be able to inform you more about that particular metaphor. But this is it. Have a clear, definable premise. What am I doing? What am I doing? And then the deeper part of the planning comes in with, okay, what if Bitcoin does this? What if Bitcoin does this? How does that impact my trade? How am I going to change my plan if that happens? And then once you come to enacting your trade, you have all of the answers, all of the scenarios. So, all right, so I'm currently in plan B, right? I'm currently in plan B. Oh, no, wait. Bitcoin's just broken out. I'm switching to plan A, right? And that's all fine. You can be adaptive, but you need to have a plan, right? And that's it. And I like planning. I have thorough plans. My partner will tell you, I frequently will go around in my life saying, okay, well, I've got to go to the dentist, but they didn't have this appointment, so I'm going to do plan C now. Like, this is the way I talk because it's where I come from as a trader, right? So something to think about this week. But let's have a look. Oh, thank you for these nice comments, Paul. You're the best, totally honest and risk aware. Well, yeah, you have to survive in the market, but thank you so much. Great to have you here. Really appreciate the support. Yeah, I need to work on the metaphors. But anyway, that's it for now. James has a video out today, which you should check out. Let me just double check. Yeah, so it's I'm lost. Hang on, I'm completely lost on my dashboard. Hang on. Sorry, they're all going chaotic. Just give me a moment. Let me just get me back on, and I'll tell you what was going on. Okay, so James has a great video out today. It was about 9 hours ago. Markets at tipping point. Check it out. It's really good breakdown. Already loads of people checking it out. So make sure you do that. Tomorrow will be altcoin gems. And if you want a little bit more information about what's happening with Bitcoin that I haven't covered today, feel free to check out our members only live stream with me and James from Wednesday. And of course, Bitcoin update from Tuesday. But that's it. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week. And of course, don't forget Sunday, James will be back for his wonderful back of the weekend live stream. Take care for now. All the best.